wasting money on cures. Forgot how to fix myself. They say that time is free. Then why is it so precious? Oh, I'll say memories in my head, like Polaroids on walls. They remind you to look ahead. Time is running out. Time is running out. Lately I've lost my track. I've sailed the deeper seas, hoping to find something to bring back better times. Oh, I'll say memories in my head, like Polaroids on walls. They remind you to look ahead. But time is running out. 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 Time is running. Time is running out. But time is running out. What if my best days are over? They can be over. They can't be over now. Time is running out. What if my best days are over? They can't be over now. Time is running out. Time is running out. Time is running out.
Can you believe it? It's 1 o'clock on what day is it now? Still Wednesday, Graham. And
It
we're
is.
here for the second of our triple header available business live streams. We did a deep dive into Ped and Yed at 11 o'clock. Now we're moving on to Edexcel, and it's the first two bits of theme 3, isn't it?
Yeah, we're doing 3.1 and 3.2 today, and then the rest tomorrow.
Indeed, at 1 o'clock. So welcome to everyone who's joining us live. And Edexcel is today's... I'll just unmute myself before I mention that 2 weeks today, we'll be doing some live Edexcel A-Level Business revision at the View Cinema in Stratford,
That is true.
next to the London Stadium. So if you fancy a change of scene, 3.5, 4 hours of intensive Edexcel exam technique and revision, maybe with a bit of shopping and bits and bobs in between, then that's where we'll be 2 weeks today. A few tickets left for Edexcel. It's pretty full, I think, but I think we've got 1 or 2 rows left. So if you're joining us live, that would be great. We're at Stratford on the Wednesday, and I think we've finished, aren't we, on the 2nd of May with a day at White City.
Yeah, we are.
Good, I'm glad you agree. Because you'll be there, G, won't you?
Yeah. I'm presenting both days there, yeah.
Anyway, if you want to join us, we'll put the link in the comments. So here we go. G, do you want to do the big reveal whilst people join us for this session? Lots of people joining us live, so let's go through this one.
Okay, if you're new to it, there's a name of a business on the question mark. We need to work out what it is without using ChatGPT. So clue number 1, this business was founded in Leeds in 1864. So if you think, I know a business that was founded in Leeds, but it was in 1862, then it's not this one.
All the best businesses are founded in Leeds, like this one.
Yes. Clue number 2. It was formerly known as Joseph Hepworth and Son.
See, I know this one. This used to be a client of mine.
Yeah.
Used to be when I was an accountant.
Yeah, it's not Stella.
Nope.
Clue number 3.
We don't normally get to clue 4, do we, before somebody guesses it?
Well, ChatGPT is never that slow. Has over 550 stores in the UK, so it's a retailer.
It is a retailer, and Helen and Ben have gone with M&S, which was indeed founded as a penny store in Leeds Market, but it's not.
Yeah.
Burton's was also founded in Leeds, but it's not that.
Burton's. That's we're showing our age with Burton's. Clue number 4. Clue number 4. We've got the 4. It in 2021, it announced a joint venture with Gap. Joint ventures was examined previously and poorly answered.
We do have a correct answer. I think FPL Football Premier League, John.
Yeah. Let's go to the next.
The Premier League joining us for this live stream.
Okay, let's go to the next clue.
Right. Kenny, you're wrong, albeit Primark is based in Leeds.
Yeah. Largest clothing retailer by sales in the UK. So that was the next clue. And the answer is, of course.
There you go.
Next.
Retailers, particularly clothing retailers, are a great example, aren't they, of organic and inorganic or external growth.
Perfect.
Great examples to use. And also segmentation and all that kind of stuff.
Great stuff.
So you're suggesting that I would, by me mentioning Burton's, reveal something about my
I don't think any of our audience will know who Burton's was.
Yeah, but they know who Topman is, or Topshop.
Okay.
All part of the same group. Anyway, you're right. Let me do this one. I'll start with the first MCQ, and then you check the next one, G. So I know there's no MCQs in Edexcel, but it's a good way of us revising Theme 3 content. So we've got a question here. A music retailer is considering reducing its prices to sell more records to existing customers. According to Ansoff, that fits neatly into one of those 4 boxes. Is it either A, B, C, or D? The Ansoff matrix, perhaps one of the most famous business models, and a cracking model to use, isn't it?
Yeah.
As part of answers. And of course, Ansoff beat us to it, didn't we? We came up with a three triangles thing, didn't we? But he came up with a matrix, and off he went.
Yeah.
Amelia, Ben, Berta, Adam, Chris, Will, Natalia, lots of others saying it's C all day long. Let's have a look. It is C. Market penetration, which is often perceived to be the lowest risk approach. Not necessarily, but the idea there is that you sell more of what you do, your existing products, to existing customers, existing markets. So top left, isn't it?
Just while we're on that, so market penetration was examined last year, and the examiner's reports, which are a great source of information for us, highlighted that a lot of students confuse market penetration with penetration pricing.
Yep.
And also confuse it with market development. Now, market development is selling existing products in new markets.
Yep.
Easy to confuse the two. We really need to know our stuff.
Certainly do. Talking of which.
Okay, which of the following is not a distinctive capability? Again, previously being examined, not very well. So is it architecture, innovation, costs, or reputation? What do we think? Architecture, innovation, costs, or reputation? Yeah, so lots going for C for costs, some going for A, the majority going for, so it's split between A and A, a couple of D's there as well, to be fair, but the majority is going for C. A few A's. I have no idea what the distinctive, it's capability, not capacity, but I see why you've typed that in. So again, this is the reason we do these sessions.
Yeah.
So, if you've something you think, I'm unsure of that, we've now got, you've got time now before the exam. So cost is not part of a distinctive capability. When it comes to distinctive capability, architecture is not how pretty the buildings look. It's about the structure, the architecture of the organization. It's the structure and the mechanisms within it. So make sure you are familiar with K's distinctive capabilities, because it could come up. It's in the specification. In the specification. Yeah, it's in the specification. Distinctive capabilities. It's in theme 3. Okay, then shall we move on to the next MCQ?
Shall I do this one, G? So here we've got a couple of statements about 2 different parts of theme 3. And your challenge is to work out whether each statement is true or false. So first statement, cost leadership. Is that an element of Paul's 5 forces? True or false? And statement 2, a fast-growing market is likely to reduce the threat of new entrants. So work out whether each of statement 1 and 2 is true or false, and then just choose the options from those listed below. always read these carefully. I'm not that you're going to get one like this in the Edexcel exam, but it's a good way of us revising some of those core concepts and markets that we need to understand. For this part of the specification, Izzy, Grace, Berta, Julia, Sam, Natalia, Rachel, and Max, and Eva, and hundreds of others. We've got a lot of people in the live chat are going for D. Let's have a look. It is indeed D. They're both false. And as Kenny has pointed out, let's stick Kenny's answer on the screen here. Cost leadership, that first statement there, is not part of 5 forces model. Paul's had 2 models in the Edexcel spec. One is the 5 forces model, but the other one is his generic strategies, where he talks about cost leadership and differentiation as being the 2 main strategies. So no, it's not Porter's 5 forces, so that's false. And well, it's the other way around, isn't it? If we're talking Porter's 5 forces, a fast-growing market is likely to increase the threat of new entrants. If the market is growing fast, that's usually a signal to potential new entrants to say, well, this is a market we want to be part of. Therefore, if anything, it will increase the threat of new entrants. So Porter's 5 forces is basically a model that looks at the different forces that influence the degree of rivalry in a market. Such as the threat of new entrants, such as the threat, such as the availability of substitutes, such as the power of buyers, bargaining power of buyers, and the threat of new entrants will often act to reduce profitability and increase rivalry. So
I think Michael's point out about depends on entry barriers. To a certain extent, yes, of course. However, when the market's growing, the barriers to entry can be perceived to be reduced. It's easier to enter a market because there's more room, to operate really. So I just want to.
Yeah, that's a good point. The other thing is you can link this with methods of growth, can't you? So you can enter a market through a takeover, and in particular, if you find a fast-growing market, perhaps overseas. And therefore, overnight, you can suddenly have a large market share of a market that might be growing fast. Yeah. So actually, the threat of new entrants has been overcome by takeover, which is often the way it works. Yeah.
Yeah. Still getting questions about distinctive capabilities. So it is definitely on the specification. It's been examined. So we'll probably build that into another live stream. It's just something distinctive or unique.
Competitive advantage.
Business have. It's about competitive advantage, a way a business can get competitive advantage. You might get asked to assess one element of it. Is it the most important distinctive capability of a business? So the brilliant thing about attending these live streams is sometimes unearth something that you may not be familiar with or can't remember being taught, and then you just go back and then familiarize yourself. That's why it's so important to try and attend these live.
The last thing we want is for something like that to appear in an exam paper and no one's seen it before, or too many people haven't seen it. So that's why we do these sessions. So we do one more.
Yeah, we're doing the MCQs. A retailer buys one of its major suppliers. This is an example of vertical integration. True or false? Organic growth can only be financed using internal sources of finance. So, true or false? A retailer buys one of its major suppliers. That's vertical integration. Organic growth can only be financed through internal sources. What do we think? Now, remember, theme 3 content is for paper 2. And paper 3 is a synoptic paper. So these concepts don't come in paper 1 because that's only theme 1 and theme 4. But, so what do we think?
I've not seen this question before, but I'm thinking that statement 1 is true. And I'm not sure that statement 2 is true. So therefore it might be false. But a retailer buying a supplier, that's definitely vertical integration. It would be going backwards in the supply chain, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Now this question was written because when one of these statements was examined, it did unearth, according to examiner's report, a misconception with a lot of students. So that's why we cover them. So we reveal the answer.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So statement 1 is of course true, but when there was a question recently on organic growth, and a lot of students referred to it only being able to be financed from within. So organic growth is growth from within, but it can be financed through using external sources. But a lot of students just thought because organic growth was sort of internal growth, really, therefore it could only be financed internally. You can see why that misconception happened, but it's a misconception and incorrect. So, of course,
Dukey's making the point that really what you have to do in business is separate the strategy from how it's financed. So
exactly, 2 different things.
They are two different things, and there's no reason why you couldn't use a bank loan to launch a promotional campaign or to pay for a promotional campaign to push a
Grow the
market
business,
penetration strategy.
Yeah. But again, it was something that was picked up in the
Yeah.
examiner's reports, and so we've covered it. I think is that the MCQs done?
No, we've
Well,
got one
there's
more.
one.
So
There's one
now
more.
one of those, A, B, C, or D, is a reason for not staying small. So which of the following is not? Sorry, 3 of those are reasons for a business to stay small. One of them is not a reason for a business to stay small.
Yeah.
Is it
On the
product differentiation, customer service, economies of scale, or flexibility responding to customers' needs? So this idea in the specification as to why businesses stay small.
Why
there
not?
are
Why not
often
all
good
grow?
reasons for staying small rather than pursuing growth.
Yeah.
And lots of people, quite rightly, Felix and Katie and Dylan and lots of others, Sam, Julia, Kenny, have identified that the correct answer is indeed, he says, moving his mouse so I can click it. Yeah, it's economies of scale. So economies of scale is a reason for becoming big, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're not going to, by and large, you're not going to achieve economies of scale if your business stays small. So purchasing economies, marketing economies, technical economies only really arise as your output increases significantly.
Yeah, and it's good that if you've got a 4-mark explain question, explain one reason why a business may prefer to stay small. You know, those 3, A, B, and D, are the ones you're drawn because they're on the specification. Maybe a small business can differentiate its products more easily, offer better service, or has more flexibility in responding to customer needs. So it always, print the specification off. We can't say this enough. Make sure you understand every single thing on it. There we go.
Good stuff. Right, we've got a little definition spinner just to get us going. I think Graham's point about knowing your specification. I think we've already proved it in this session, haven't we?
Yeah,
You've got
definitely.
to go through it and highlight every term that you're not sure about. So here's our first one. What have we got there? 6 terms taken from this part of the specification from theme 3, 1.1 to 1.2. Shall I spin the wheel, G, and then over to you?
Yeah. See what it lands on. Mission statements. Okay, so what do we understand by the term mission statements? It has been frequently examined. Recently examined. Again, but it's one of those. It's the very start of 3.1, along with corporate objectives. So the two are linked. What do we understand? Someone said about I swear 4 markers are normally maths. But can they sometimes be worded? I think we need to pick up on that point. So I'll do that after the spinner about 4 mark questions. So what do we understand by a mission statement? So a mission statement is a statement made by a business in order to portray their goals and objectives. So
it's
a short phrase to outline the business purpose and values.
Goes to the heart of this, doesn't it? It's the purpose and values of the business, why it exists. I think I like that. Kosie's done another good one there. Mission statement, the overall purpose of the business. I think that goes to the heart of a mission statement. Why? If we're a business, why do we exist?
And what I like there is,
what are our values?
And I like there in the specification. It's very clear. It's about a critical appraisal of mission statements. So why are they of value? Why may they not be of value? And there, it could be seen as a PR exercise. Are they just there, as for a public relations tool rather than having any real value? So we need to make sure we can understand the pros and cons of mission statements. Great answer. Should we reveal what we had?
Here it is.
So the overriding goal of the business and the reason for its existence, a strategic perspective for the business and a vision for the future. So remember, you may have to assess the value of mission statements to a business. Then you would need to say why it's a value, why it's not a value, and an overall judgment. I was a little bit concerned by a comment that Max made earlier on about 4-mark questions. I swear 4 markers are normally right. Okay, maybe I misread that. So 4 markers are either calculation questions, 4-mark calculation questions, explain questions, or you might get a construct question where you have to construct a supply and demand diagram. So there are 3 types of 4-mark questions. They're usually equally split between the calcs and explain or construct. I've never seen a series where they've all been calculation questions. You will always get some explain questions in there. Okay, so we've clarified that, which is great news.
Good. So, we've got some data interpretation here, isn't it? Which may
good idea.
allow us to use our golden rule. But
Yeah.
anyway, over to you, G.
Okay, so the table shows the sales revenue of the largest 5 businesses in a market. We've got business A, B, C, D, and E there. Lucky for us, that's how they were named. We've got the sales revenue for each one. We've got the sales revenue for each one, and then we've got the total sales of all businesses in the market. I'll pick up on Eva's question after. Can we have a look at the question, please, Jim?
Certainly can, mate. Yeah, I'll just get the question up for you. There it is.
So how might the data affect the ability of a new business to enter the market? So what we've got here is you've got some data there, and we have a rule, don't we, Jim? There's a rule. If there's data in the paper, there should be data in your answer. So what we want is you can come up with lots of ways that might affect the threat of new entrants, but you need to link this to the data on screen. Now, someone mentioned market share incoming. Very insightful. Maybe you could use market share, but you're going to have to use some calculations to support your answer. So maybe have a look at the data and think, actually, how could that prevent or put up barriers to entry? How may it allow businesses to enter the market? So that's what we're after. We need to use the data to answer this question. So it's related to Port's 5 forces, and we've got data related to that. What do we think?
Number of economists in the live chat today, so they'll be thinking a thing called the concentration ratio, which isn't on the Edexcel. Well, yeah, I mean, it's an economics concept, isn't it?
Yeah. So what do we think?
Market share, market power.
Yeah.
Is.
Yeah, I'd be looking at trying to perform.
Definitely.
There's two standout calculations here that would allow you to support your analysis. In terms of answering this question. So it's all about the threat of new entrants. Now that is superb. The top 5 businesses have a combined market share of 66%. I don't think we could ask for better than that. This may lead to, that's a hedging word, to high levels of customer loyalty in these established brands, increasing barriers to entry. You know, if I'm a new business, Jim, thinking I want to enter this market, I might be thinking, with 66% market share amongst 5 businesses, how on earth am I going to get a foothold? Maybe these have got brand loyalty. Maybe they've got huge economies of scale. Yeah, that's a very, very good calculation. That's a standout calculation, I think.
A number of people, including Helen and Andrew, talking about the 66%. So they've done that, making a link to oligopoly. It's really about sort of saying, well, you know, it's quite hard to enter that market and gain a large market share unless, of course, you did it by takeover. Yeah. In which case, let's say you bought business B, you'd all of a sudden have the best part of 16, 17%.
Exactly.
Of Matthew's come up with a different calculation, G. Another way of
that's the second one. That's the second standout calculation. So basically, you've got a business there that really dominates the market, which again, you know, you could link that to that business probably got huge economies of scale. However, maybe it's got diseconomies of scale. We don't know. But it's likely to have huge economies of scale, which means that a new entrant might find it difficult to compete, say, on price, because a new entrant may not be able to benefit from the economies of scale business A and the other business have. And what's really refreshing here, Jim, is the amount of students who've picked up on the golden rule and are using calculations to support their arguments. However, if we think 66% of the market is dominated by 5 businesses, that must also mean that around 34% of the market is not dominated by the businesses, so there's still access. So there may be a lower threat to entry, as those businesses may have brand loyalty, making it difficult for new entrants. They may have large economies of scale, given their market share. However, you know, you've got to give balanced arguments occasionally, or a lot of the time in Edexcel. The market, 34% of the market is available, and there may be niche markets within there that new entrants could exploit. Remember, this also links to reasons for business staying small. Yeah. So there are links between the specification here. So just because it's dominated by a large business, it doesn't mean there's an opportunity for a business to maybe tap into a small niche within that market. Really good answers, everyone.
Yeah, good stuff.
Really good. Really good.
Let's do. Now, a number of people asked for the application spinner. We've delayed 20 minutes already before we do our first. I think we're going to do a couple of these, aren't we? Because these are such fruitful examples of how to apply specific industries, specific businesses to a question. And here we're looking at the benefits of growth. So would you believe it? We've picked 6 well-known businesses.
We have.
And all we need to do is spin the spinner. And we're looking for your answers in the live chat, which give us a benefit of growth, but in the context of the specific business, using words, industry language examples that make it about, in this case, Primark rather than Apple or Nissan or KFC.
Yeah.
So we're thinking clothes rather than chicken nuggets in this occasion.
Yeah. So often, your analysis will be the same, but it'll be the words you use within your analysis.
I'll keep an eye out for replies by Cossie, who a number of people in the live chat believe that Cossie is cooked. Anything but, really. I think Cossie is already up there, potentially increasing grade boundaries. We'll have to see what we don't know for sure.
Yeah.
But what do you think? Primark, a benefit of growth to a business such as Primark. What are you looking out for, G, as I look for some answers?
Well, yeah, I'm just looking for words that, I'm looking for some sort of why, how it may benefit them, but related specifically to the business and what they sell. So a lot of students will talk about purchasing economies of scale, but they'll just mention things like variable costs and won't mention the type of variable costs that Primark have. So Primark are cost leaders. They may be able to benefit from purchasing economies of scale, and those. So obviously, we've got an economist in the house, and lower variable costs of clothes. So maybe they can put pressure on their clothing suppliers to supply them cheaper clothes.
Monopoly power, G. That's purchasing, bargaining power of purchase suppliers. Yep.
So what we should have is maybe cost of clothes and the implications of that. Maybe they could pass the costs on to their customers in the form of low prices, given that Primark is a discount clothing retailer. So that's what we're.
Yeah, so the benefit of growth, if you achieve those unit costs, as Katie's pointing out, may enable them to be cheaper than other competitors in the segment, such as Zara. So there we go. We're starting to use such as seasoning.
Such as seasoning. Perfect there. Absolutely perfect.
What about Amelia's answer here? Have a look at this one, G. This looks good. I've only given it 10 seconds quick read, but it was good.
They could sell clothes to a wider number of shoppers. I love that.
Oh, what an answer this is.
Which enables them to achieve economies of scale, which can lead to costs being spread over more clothes, such as T-shirts. So lots of application there. Great answers.
I think Amelia's just replaced Cossie as the goat of this session, and with that answer.
Definitely. Shall I have a look at what we had?
Can it be topped? Let's have a look.
Yeah. So Primark may need to buy more clothing from its suppliers, such as T-shirts and jeans. As a result, they may be able to negotiate low prices. Maybe they've got greater buyer power, as they may be buying clothing in larger quantities. Primark may therefore be able to reduce the price of their T-shirts and jeans. Okay, so we've got some really good stuff there.
But just asking a question, would using the word shoppers count as application? Well, yeah, because it's Primark, isn't it? It's a retail business.
Yeah, definitely.
So shoppers rather than customers is definitely application. I know there are some other businesses on there, M&S and Aldi, that also have shoppers. Yeah. But absolutely, yeah.
Great stuff. Right, should we look at the next question?
There's a bit of competition going on here between Amelia and Cossie in the live chat as to who's going to be next to get their contributions on the screen. But this is quite a hard one, isn't it?
Yeah, so we're just going to look at the implication of economies of scale and unit costs. So we've got the output of a business here. Its output 300, 750, 1,200 units. We've got its fixed costs, its variable cost per unit, its total variable costs, and its total costs. Can we work out the total costs for 750 units, then work out the unit costs of producing 300 units and the unit costs of producing 1,200 units. And hopefully this will illustrate to some students why increasing scale of production may lead to a reduction in overall unit costs.
We've already got answers coming in, so I better start the clock, mate.
We better do that. Yeah, some very quick numerical skills on show here. So lots going for £120 a unit cost.
Is that for A?
For producing 300 units. And if that is true, we can see that producing 750 units leads to a huge reduction in unit costs. And obviously we can understand why. Because the fixed costs are fixed. And, they're spread out over more units of production. Is that 67.5, not 67,500
pence.
Yeah, 500 pence. Yeah.
Abigail's got all three, I think. Izzy as well.
I just think
Amazing
this
work.
really adds. I think activities like this, Jim, add weight to students' understanding of why unit costs fall when output increases. It's okay saying they do, but sometimes you need to back that up with some data there.
We'll check some of these answers. Izzy and Abigail, I think we're amongst two of the first to go with all three answers. Max has gone with. Actually, Max might want to check his answers to C because it looks like. I'm not sure that's right.
Let's have a look. Let's have a look what the answer
I was
is.
just looking for Cozzy's answers, but no sign. So we move on. But anyway, Amelia's got the answer down. So here we go.
Let's have a look. Okay, so as we can see, as output increased from 300 units to 1,200, unit costs fall from £120 to £67.50, and that's basically because the fixed costs stay the same no matter how many units we produce. And obviously, if that business can increase its scale of production from 300 units to 1,200 units and reduce its unit costs to £67.50, that has got absolutely huge implications in terms of what it does in terms of its price. It could reduce its price depending on price elasticity of demand. It could keep price the same and enjoy much higher margins and use that money to invest in other areas of the business. But it's rather than just saying as a business grows in scale, unit costs fall. That's not good enough at this stage. We need to be explaining how and why. And that example really illustrates how and why.
Eva's asking, how do you calculate C? Well, it's the total costs, so the 81,000. But this time we're making more units. So it's 81,000 divided by 1,200 units.
Yeah, sorry.
So £67.50 per unit.
So the calculation is actually, it's in the specification. It's under average cost. But average cost and unit costs is the same. So it's on the spec, unit costs. So we divide the total costs of producing divided by, so the total cost of producing 300 units was £36,000. So 36,000 divided by 300 gives us our unit costs. That's how that was.
So as you look at that table, basically the business from 300 to 1,200, the output has increased by 300%. And the unit cost is almost halved as a consequence of those fixed costs being spread over more units. That's the beauty of economies of scale, isn't it? If you can achieve them.
That's what it's about. That's what it's all about.
Great stuff. If you were looking at barriers to entry, thinking should we enter the market? If you weren't, let's say the selling price in the market was £75 or £100, well, you wouldn't do it, would you? If you were only capable of selling 300 units, because you wouldn't be able to do it profitably.
You couldn't. You can't. You haven't got the scale to reduce the costs low enough. To be competitive. So it's amazing how all these concepts link, such as economies of scale, barriers to entry. I mean, you could link that to a certain extent, you could link that BTEC fin to staff motivation and labour productivity. Yeah, you could link those concepts.
Yeah.
Mega Gamer Dude, this is paper 2,
Yeah, theme 3 first appears, isn't it, in paper 2, and then everything can appear in... should we do another application spinner? Let's spin the wheel. Let's do a different business. We've done one already, which was Primark. So I'm hoping that this isn't just a replay of the previous... It's not. It's KFC.
No, it's KFC.
What is KFC? Do you have never seen that business before? What does it do?
I'm not sure. It sells food, doesn't it? Is it chicken?
Could be.
I've never been in one.
Haven't you?
No.
On the way back from footy for me. Anyway, let's have a look. Over to you in the live chat. A benefit of growth to a business such as KFC. So we're looking for words, phrases that make it about KFC, but not about Primark. And Grace's answer
it's the same thing.
The box, isn't it?
It is. It's exactly the same, really. It's the same. To be fair, that's one element of it. Bulk buying chicken. Maybe they could reduce the price of the chicken, which they could pass it on in the form of cheaper buckets of chicken. Because not many places sell food in buckets, but KFC is one of them. Right. So Helen and Andrew Russell here.
Yeah,
Helen and Andrew,
really good. A bit of Porter's 5 Forces coming in here.
Yeah, right. So that's on the specification. Increased market power, leading increased buyer power. They can put pressure on their suppliers. So it's okay just saying, they can get lower prices of chicken. We need to understand how and why. As KFC get bigger, they have greater buyer power, which means they can put pressure on their suppliers to sell them chicken at a lower price. Because if they don't, they say, well, we'll go elsewhere.
Tommy's making the point about if you can achieve economies of scale through growth, that may allow them to charge lower prices than competitors such as McDonald's.
Yeah.
There we go. So it must be about KFC, not about Primark.
Yeah. Should we
Last
say what
time
we
I
had?
looked-
I think it's this. Yeah, it's the same thing.
you've
It's
got
the
the
same
idea.
thing. Yeah. It's the same thing as we got there. So
Let's have a look. Let's launch our suggested answer.
yeah. So KFC may need to buy more ingredients from its suppliers, such as chicken. As a result, they may be able to negotiate lower prices as they may be buying chicken in far larger quantities. We'd really need to say how and why that's the case. We didn't have the room here, but that's because they've got greater buyer power, greater market power.
Yep.
They may therefore be able to reduce the price of their meals and be more price competitive against their rivals, such as Burger King. So I think there's lots of application there, which is taking the same point, really, but just applying it to the business in question.
Apply it to the business in question. So if you do get a question about KFC in the Edexcel exam, don't just wing it. Apply it.
Don't just wing it. Yeah.
Should we finish with our mini case study?
On that note, yeah. So we've got a mini case study here on Mike Ashley's Fraser's Group, which owns House of Fraser and luxury clothing retailer Flannels. It bought another clothing retailer in 2023, Matches, for 52 million. Less than a year, it closed it down, didn't it? Closed it down.
Yep.
The takeover was one of several acquisitions of luxury clothing brands by Fraser's as part of a strategy to build market share in the luxury clothing market. In addition to House of Fraser, Flannels and Matches, the group also owns Jack Wills and Aphrodite, a premium menswear store. Now, Aphrodite was set up by two brothers in Sunderland who I went to school with.
Okay.
And Mike actually bought the business out last year and closed it in order to push more traffic in their flannels. So
It seems to be a trend there, doesn't it?
So what are the benefits and downsides to the Fraser's Group of the Matches takeover? Now, the Matches takeover, obviously, they closed it down. Now, whether that could be due to the failure of the takeover, or maybe that was part of the strategy, to eliminate a competitor for the market. But what are the benefits and downsides to the Fraser's Group of taking over that particular business at that time?
So really, it's the benefits and downsides of external growth here, isn't it? In the context of
clothing,
in the context of the clothing market, the retail clothing market. And I think the market is both shops as well as online as well, isn't it? These days, these clothing retailers, nearly all, apart from Primark, all have multi-channel approaches, so online as well as stores. Yeah,
omni-channel retailers. So drawbacks, job losses, and conflicts between the workforce.
Yep.
Overtrading's an interesting one, isn't it? Maybe the buying too many of the same businesses. And that's on the specification. That's one of the downsides of growth on the specification.
I like Dan's point, which is as you build a portfolio of brands, in this case luxury clothing brands, they can build a customer base that you might be able to cross-sell to.
Yeah. So that's a really good point.
In other words, you have more brands that you could offer to that customer base.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Olim's come up with a great answer, which actually combines two, doesn't it? The takeover allows it to expand its market share, creating greater market power and therefore potentially benefiting from economies of scale, perhaps marketing economies of scale, purchasing economies of scale. You could maybe expand those two. But the downside is it comes with a high cost, not just the cost of buying the business, but also everything else that goes with it, the integration, and in this case, store closures, other issues around IT.
And we have
Fraser's Group has discovered that in lots of different ways, hasn't it? Many times. Any more answers you've got coming through?
Yeah, no, but we also had some costs in the case study which we could have used, such as, would you believe it's appeared on screen? So they could have achieved synergies, which means they could achieve more together by ideas of luxury clothes.
Wow.
Such as watches. They do sell watches yet. However, the cost of the takeover of 52 million is costly. It's a lot of money. It is a lot of money. Should we have a look at some of our answers?
Some great answers coming through. I'll keep an eye on the live chat to spot any more that come in as people are typing them. Let's get our answers on screen. What have we gone with? Let's have a look.
So with Matches joining Fraser's Group, it expanded the group's portfolio in the luxury clothing market, allowing it to offer a wider range of designer clothing to customers, enabling Fraser's Group to compete more effectively against their rivals such as Prada and Gucci. This could have allowed Fraser's Group to sell more designer clothing, increasing their sales revenue. However, we always have to have balance. Remember, supported judgment as well is needed on 10, 12, and 20 mark questions. Recommendation on 20 marks. The takeover may have led to diseconomies of scale with the addition of Matches to its portfolio. Fraser's was rapidly expanding its operations, which could potentially lead to inefficiencies in coordination and management across multiple clothing retailers. Given that Fraser Group already owns Flannels, Jack Wills, and Aphrodite, integrating matches into its existing structure could have hindered the ability to effectively coordinate operations, leading to an increase in unit costs. So maybe they were growing too fast.
Yeah.
And, decide to close one or two of those down.
Number of people in the live chat talking about synergy. So that first one at the top there is a revenue synergy, isn't it? It's a benefit. A synergy is a benefit from external growth. So in this case, the revenue synergies, we can, by adding yet another brand to the portfolio, we can probably sell more. Other than the matches would have been able to sell on their own, albeit it's quite hard for them to sell anything now that it's closed down. But you get the idea. You're adding brands, adding stock, adding customers.
Exactly. And also, you might have had a situation where customers were very loyal to matches and wouldn't have shopped at Flannels, which is owned by Mac Ashley. So therefore, they may have continued to shop at matches, and that money still goes to, the Frasers Group.
As it turned out, though, matches was a brand that burned bright for a while and has now gone out, hasn't it?
Yeah.
It's been extinguished.
Yeah, they didn't strike quick enough there.
I'm on fire.
Great answers, everyone. Again, great answers,
well
great answers. Well done, everyone. Just to say, we unearthed a few things there, which there was a bit of confusion around. So make sure we look up distinctive capabilities.
Yeah.
Practice those 4-mark explain questions. There was a question earlier on, which I did make a note of, about I think it was something about how likely is it that I might have to construct a supply and demand diagram.
Here it is. I made a note that you made a note, G.
Yeah. So I did make a note here. Now, we're not in the business of predicting exam questions because it's impossible. All I can say is it's been examined before and it can be examined again. So it is as likely to come up as any other topic. What the secret of success for Edexcel Business is, make sure you know every single topic or concept on the specification. When it comes up, you will answer it with confidence. Assume it's going to come up, and then if it does come up, then you're prepared.
Yeah, if you're on TikTok and stuff, the number of accounts these days offering, quote, predicted papers, it's the biggest con going. Absolute waste of time. They're playing on students' worries, anxieties. It's outrageous. Don't go in any subject. Don't go anywhere near them. Question practice is great. Of course it is. But predicted papers is a complete rip-off, and it's fooling no one. So
we don't do it.
As G says, we don't do it. And G says, just focus on the things you need. Could be examined, and then all will be good. Yeah. And that's why we do these live streams, isn't it? Just to keep.
And we always say, don't we? Chance leaves nothing to us, so we leave nothing to chance. So we're going to finish off on Max Britton's. When is the next Edexcel session? It's tomorrow at 1:00.
It is. Yeah, 1:00.
We will be here.
Doing the rest of theme 3, aren't we? So
3.3,
3.3 to 3.6. So lots in that. Should be good. And then we're after our grade booster sessions, we'll dive into theme 4 ahead of paper 1. So once the grade boosters finish, you won't be able to get away from live stream. So lots more opportunities to practice revision for Edexcel. Awesome, mate. So I'll see you tomorrow for Edexcel. If anyone's here appeared early for AQA, we start that at 2:00 this afternoon. Gee, thanks for putting that session together.
Cheers.
We'll see everyone later.
Cheers now.